My name is Sandy Adomaitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for the Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun. Hey writers, it's Sandy. I'm coming to you from Studio City, the crown jewel of the San Fernando Valley, and I have a fun episode for you this week. Some Hollywood news, an update, and an inspirational story to share. First up, I'll fill you in on the latest battle everyone in Hollywood is talking about, the hostile takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery by Paramount. The WGA released a statement on the situation, and I think you'll find it interesting. Writers, why should you care about this story? Then I'll report on Carl Rinch, the writer-director who embezzled $11 million from Netflix. Rinch's trial just wrapped up last week, and I'll also share a short story about resilience involving Meryl Streep and Dino de Laurentiis. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Dopa Pets on Etsy, who made my cat Sophie Joe's Christmas collar. I love it, and I highly recommend you check out Dopa Pets on Etsy. This isn't a paid ad. They have cute stuff and great customer service, so just go check them out. Now, the hostile takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery. What is going on? We first have to take a step back to 2022. That's when there was a merger between AT&T's Warner Media and Discovery Inc., which made Warner Bros. Not only a studio, but a massive global media entertainment company. Now, December 2025, just days after Netflix struck a deal to purchase a large part of Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount launched a hostile takeover bid to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery. I'm just going to say Warner Bros. Because the Discovery part, I just can't. Writers, why should you care about this story? Well, the Writers Guild of America West and the Writers Guild of America East released a statement, and I thought you guys would like to hear it. This is the statement. The world's largest streaming company swallowing one of its biggest competitors is what antitrust laws were designed to prevent. The outcome would eliminate jobs, push down wages, worsen conditions for all entertainment workers, raise prices for consumers, and reduce the volume and diversity of content for all viewers. Industry workers, along with the public, are already impacted by only a few powerful companies maintaining tight control over what consumers can watch on television, on streaming, and in theaters. This merger must be blocked. So that's the statement. And why is this a hostile takeover? Okay. Paramount plans to appeal to Warner Brothers shareholders and overcome management's wishes of going with Netflix. How can they do that, you might ask? Perhaps Paramount has a plan, how to save the movie industry, how to help upcoming writers get a foothold into the business. No, it all comes down to following the money. You see, the Netflix agreement to buy Warner Brothers offered shareholders $27.75 per share, while Paramount offered shareholders $30 per share. Follow the money. And of course, it's all much more complicated. But again, what do you think, writers? What do you think of the merger? What do you think of the statement the WGA has put out? Do you agree with them? Let me know at the Writers Hangout podcast at gmail.com. You know, it kind of makes me sad, just Warner Brothers being sold in general. Warner Brothers is my favorite lot. I would walk all the stages and read the plaques that would just list all the movies and television shows that were shot there. Warner Brothers just feels old Hollywood to me. When I worked on Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, we were on the Warner Brothers lot. Hadley Klein, Ishtar, and I bought the cheapest bikes we could find online. And the writers of Mom, who were next to us, had these really cool gifted bikes. And they kind of would make fun of us. But we loved riding around the lot. And Hadley, if you're listening, I haven't forgotten that you took my bike to set one night and left it there. I'm just saying. Again, writers, let me know what you think about all of this consolidation. Now, back in April of 2024, I did an episode titled How the Rinch Stole $55 million from Netflix Using Kind-Hearted Keanu Reeves. It was a fascinating story, and I highly recommend you go back and listen. And I now have an update on that story. To review, writer-director Carl Rinch embezzled $11 million from Netflix by diverting funds meant for a sci-fi series he wrote, produced, and directed for Netflix into his personal accounts. Oops. He used the money for investments, luxury vehicles, including 5 Rolls Royces and 1 Ferrari, cryptocurrencies, 2, I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Hastings, mattresses costing around $638,000 total, and 480 food takeout orders within 6 months. Oh, wait a minute. Is the 480 food takeout orders in 6 months success? Okay, whatever. Now, he didn't buy a house, which I find interesting, or it just shows that even if you steal $11 million, it's still hard to afford to buy in LA. I laugh, but I also cry on that one. Well, as we know, Rinch was arrested, and just last week he was found guilty of wire fraud and money laundering. He faces up to 90 years behind bars. But I don't know. I think he'll get less. Remember, kids, crime doesn't pay. Writers, I want to talk about one of the most challenging aspects of writing, managing everything yourself, including keeping track of every detail in your novel and screenplay. I always remember this quote from Stephen King. You think you might have misspelled a word. Okay, so here's your choice. Either look it up in the dictionary, thereby making sure you have it right and breaking your train of thought and the writer's trance in the bargain, or just spell it phonetically and correct it later. When you sit down to write. Don't do anything else. Now, I always wanted to be that kind of writer, always pushing forward. But hard as I try, I'm just not. If I can't remember something about my story, I go back and I look for it. And just like Stephen King says, it breaks my concentration. If time passes and I haven't written or I'm deep into the story, I forget about timelines, character names, and backstories. Then there I go again, rereading what I wrote, and I find myself fighting to get back into the story. So when I learned about our new sponsor, Novelium, I knew I wanted Velium on my laptop right away. Velium, spelled Novelium, is like having an editor at your side when you write, because Novelium tracks every character detail, every timeline event, and every plot thread across your whole manuscript. Before I go any further, I want you to know Novelium never writes for you, never suggests plot changes, never trains on your work, and never touches your voice. But this is what it can do. 1. Read and analyze your manuscript and or screenplay. Then it finds timeline conflicts and character inconsistencies. 2, catches what you missed like a detailed, obsessed editor who remembers everything. 3, tracks your universe, every character detail, timeline event, and plot thread you've created. 4, answers questions about your story. For example, what meds was Lieutenant General Hicks taking during his court-martial? Novelium will give you instant, accurate answers. Novelium was created by real authors, not by tech workers who aren't writers. Try Novelium today and get your first month free. That is so cool. And please use code HANGOUT. That's Novelium, NOVELIUM.SO. Again, NOVELIUM.SO. And please use code HANGOUT. Back to the show. Now, I want to share a story which involves Meryl Streep and the producer Dino de Laurentiis. Writers, back in the day, Dino was the man. He was a legendary film producer in both Italy and Hollywood and produced over 500 films, including classics like La Strada, Serpico, Blue Velvet, and blockbusters like Conan the Barbarian, earning an Oscar and the Thalberg Award, despite a career marked by both huge hits and spectacular flops. I see you, 1984's Dune. Sorry, David. Okay, Meryl's story. Wouldn't it be great if I just pulled out a great Meryl Streep imitation? But sadly, the only Meryl Streep voice I can do is, "A dingo ate my baby." And that is Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing Elaine from Seinfeld with a little Britney Spears on the baby. On the baby. I don't want to do that, but it kind of comes out. Anyways, I'll set the scene. It's 1975. Meryl Streep is young and in Hollywood, and she has an audition for King Kong with Dino de Laurentiis. Streep remembers. He looked at me. Then he turned to his son and he said in Italian, "Why did you bring me this ugly thing?" I understood every word, and that moment felt like a punch straight to the stomach. I had just arrived in Hollywood, full of hope, and one of the most influential producers, Dino de Laurentiis, decided I wasn't worthy of the big screen. Not beautiful enough, not good enough, and for a second, I almost believed him. Those cruel words nearly made me walk out, abandon the room, and abandon my dream. I thought, if the most powerful man here thinks this of me, who am I to disagree? But instead of breaking down or running away, I looked him in the eye and I answered back in perfect Italian. "Sorry to disappoint you." I took that humiliation and I turned it into fuel. Today, I have more than 20 Oscar nominations. Beauty fades, persistence and talent do not. Never let a small man's opinion define the size of your dream. What someone else calls a flaw may become the mark that makes you unforgettable. Meryl Streep. Writers, I hope this story helps you when you face rejection. Don't let the small people drag you down.
And that's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Your positive feedback will help us keep the show going so we can continue bringing you more future episodes. Remember, Keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards, with executive producer Kristin Overn, producers Sandy Adomaitis, and myself, Terry Sampson. And our music is composed by Ethan Stoller.